Hey everyone, welcome to the Ceres podcast. Stelios here, just for the introduction. Today is Mark Petrou's debut episode. He's chatting with David Miller of Millers in Haxby, diving into Mark's Past Master series, where he engages with former champions of the Seafish Fish and Chip Awards. David is now my co-host on the Ceres Masterclass podcast, or you may ask that I am his co-host. You take your pick. For those of you that don't know Millers, they won the Seafish Fish and Chips of the Year award in 2018. We are entering an exciting phase here at the Ceres podcast with some fantastic updates to share. We've welcomed aboard new hosts. They include Kelly Barnes, David Miller, Mark Petrou and David Nicolaou. It's an absolute privilege to explore this journey and share this platform with such dedicated friends. Look out and listen to the Pod Squad Roundtable. That will be sort of us having a bit of a house cleaning every few weeks. It's really worth a listen to get to know us all. But that's not all. We've also launched new segments and a fresh new Ceres podcast Facebook discussion group. That's a lot of words. Join us there to be part of the growing community. Be part of the discussion, basically. Today's episode is powered by Ceres Deep Fryer Cleaner. Are you ready to revolutionise your cleaning routine? Introducing the Ceres Deep Fryer Cleaner, your new ally against grease, grime and tough carbon deposits on those fryers. Ideal for any fryers and any range, any metal, stainless steel or mild steel that is. It's a potent, non-caustic cleaner that ensures your equipment stays pristine. Bid farewell to laborious scrubbing and welcome a quicker, cleaner, safer process with Ceres Deep Fryer Cleaner. Extend your fryer's lifespan, enhance oil quality and longevity, improve heating times and recovery, efficient at removing carbon and grease and dirt, and it saves on energy costs. Don't take our word for it. Here's a review from Raphael. This is a game-changing product. I've tried various cleaning methods over the years, but nothing compares to this. Purchase your tub today at ceres.shop for next day free delivery across mainland UK, and we also deliver to Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland, all British Isles, numerous European locations, so there is no reason why you have to have dirty fryers. Stay updated with the latest from Ceres by joining our Ceres podcast discussion group, or sign up to our direct emails for our mailing list in the episode show notes. Follow us on social media for more immediate updates, but for the best way of getting all the news fast, it's joining our mailing list. If you enjoy this podcast, spread the word among your friends. Have you liked what you heard? Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. And now, let's jump into Mark Petrou's Past Master episode with David Miller.
David, it's really great to have you here. Before we get into this Past Master series and talk about your journey through Fish and Chips Shop of the Year, I feel there's a bit of housekeeping I need to sort out for the listener. You actually did a pod with Stelios, which is Series 3, Episode 41, just for easy reference. I really urge the listener to go and listen to this podcast because it goes into great detail, your journey through fish and chips. And today I really want to focus on your experience of the competition and what it did for you. But just to start the ball rolling and for you to give us an overview, you actually have an amazing chefing background. You've got the same qualifications as my brother, City and Guild 706 1 and 2. I think you've also got 3 as well, which he didn't get. They are the proper old school chefing qualifications. You're a chef on the QE too, which must have been an absolute buzz. And you're now running a family business that was established in 1940. That's just me scratching the surface. But give us 5 or 10 minutes, would you please, and just give us a bit of your backstory up until the point that you decided you were going to enter the competition. But don't spend 2 hours.
No, I'll be brief. So basically, fish and chips has given me a fabulous life. It looked after me when I was younger, and again, if you go on the podcast, you'll hear a bit more about that. I could have gone into the business, but felt that I wanted to steer my own career and get away from that and stand on my own 2 feet, which I did. I went to college. I started chefing, then went to college. Beat the system by a year because I went full time, but because of mum and dad's backing, I was able to do that. And then went to work in Geneva, in Switzerland, in the Michelin star restaurant. Then one of the head chefs was Paul Bacusi's sous chef. So if anybody knows the stuff about the old Grand Masters, he was the king. He was the man that started it all. Nouvelle cuisine, as they say. Then from there I came home for about 18 months. Didn't really gel with Dad because I was still chefy head and he was very much a businessman and this is how you do it. And it was Leslie, my wife actually, that saw an advert for the QE2, and I went off to the Queen's Hotel in Leeds for an interview, and there was all these really amazing chefs from Glen Eagles, the Grosvenor House, all this sort of stuff, and I got the job. And literally they phoned me up on the Thursday, I remember this, and they said, David, you know, we would like to offer you a job on the QE2 in the kitchen, starting in the larder. Would you like to join? And I said, can I get back to you? I'll just get in touch with mum and dad. They said, no, fortunately we need an answer now, we move on to the next person. And I just went, yes. So then humbly went home and said, do you mind if I have a chat with you? And told mum and dad what had happened, and my mum and dad said, it just doesn't matter, you cannot miss that. So I did that, and then a very brief overview. I realised that it was time to come home, and again, if you look at the podcast, that's like quite a funny story. Mum and Dad came on board.
Yeah,
it was great. At a pivotal point, and I ran the business very well. But unfortunately, I was only back for 18 months, and my dad died. So I was really on my own. I had my brother as well, who came from the music industry, very similar to me. Came back to the business, and he was my mentor. But then, as we got older, things happen, you go your own way a little bit, don't you? He was still there as a mentor, but, I did it myself. And the business was good, and, I've got the 3 boys and everything like that. And then I suppose you lose your way a bit, don't you? And I certainly was one of them. I always thought that, I've got the property to sell, I've bought properties, I've been very lucky. The houses at that time were cheap to buy. So on that respect, I always thought, well, I've got that to fall back on. And I had lost my way, and the shop was losing money, and I really didn't like being there. And then, as we all know, my son Nick came along, who again was from a music industry. He was a professional drummer, and he was actually working in Nashville at the time. And he came back from touring and said, look, you get away on holiday, Mum, and I'll look after the shop. And basically, he looked after the shop. He worked with me for a week and then looked after the shop while I was away. Came back, and he wrote me a letter to say, basically, how crap the shop was. And the staff were doing this, the staff were doing that. And, Dad, it's just terrible. Aren't you proud of that?
It must have been quite sobering for you.
Oh, it was like somebody had just punched me. He took me for a coffee, which I thought was very strange because he's never bought me a coffee ever. And as he got the coffee, he said, just read this. And it was just like somebody hitting me in the chest. And I felt ashamed and all this sort of stuff. And then at the bottom it said something like, together we can do this. We can turn this around. So that was another debate of, will Nick leave the music industry? Because Leslie's brother and Dad were also professional musicians, but again, it's not an easy life. It's like hospitality. You're working when people are enjoying themselves and lots of travelling and all that. And it was the right time. And I think people know of me and Nick, and we're a great combination together. We bounce off each other, and it just worked.
Yeah. So you and Nick embarked on a campaign, which again I know you talk about in this previous podcast. And you really turned that shop around, didn't you? And at some point, there must have been a light bulb moment where you thought, we'll enter this competition. And I think your motivation, if I remember right, was really a health check for your business as much as anything else. And you didn't realise how much good work you'd already done and how you were likely to progress.
Yeah, I think it was
talk
basically...
me through that.
It's a bit like that lovely saying, polish a diamond, isn't it? So it was under there. It just needed cleaning again and refreshing.
Yeah.
So we did... Sorry.
How old was your shop and your range and your equipment and everything that you were working with? Set the scene a bit. So because I don't want people to think that you can buy this competition.
Right,
and I think by the time people have heard all the past winners, they'll realise that this thing's run on passion, not on pennies.
So we got a mystery shop done by an amazing lady that I respect so much, and she's now out of the industry, but Tracy Poskett came and did me a review, basically.
Lovely lady.
Yeah, and she's always been somebody I look up to, and she was actually doing the training session with Nick, with Richard Wardell and Arthur Parrington at the thing, and I got in touch and said, look, we're thinking of entering the awards, so she just came on spec. Nick knew she was coming, but I didn't. And then Nick said, can you come here? Tracy's come to see you. Which I was like, oh, wow. And she said, look, David, Nick's asked me to do a review on the shop, and unfortunately, with what you've got at the moment, you've got no chance, basically. You're just wasting your time. So that was a little bit like, all right, okay. So then the pivotal point was really Nick going to the awards himself. So anyone that's never been to the awards, even if you're not up for a category, get on top of your suppliers, get a free ticket, or even pay for one. It is worth it. It'll inspire you to see all those people there. And that's basically what Nick did. Because I've been asked so many times by callbacks, and I went, oh, no, I can't be bothered with that. Again, misconception, total misconception. And Nick kept going on about all these people in there. And one was a man called Richard Ord. I'd heard of Richard from Coleman's. I didn't know too much about him, but I knew he was an incredible guy. And we started to look at it, and we sort of said, look, we'll give ourselves 3 years to get in the top 60. And that felt like an uphill struggle. Absolute uphill struggle. And I saw Richard Ord, and we bumped into him at the Colbeck show in Newcastle. And of course he knew Nick but didn't know me, and he introduced me and he said, look lads, have you got entered into that competition? And Nick said, yes, we have. He said, right, this is all you've got to do. He said, think of it this way. Get your fish and chips good, get your service spot on, and you'll get through to the next round. Do the same again, pick up again, and you'll get through. And I know that's quite open, that saying, but I listened to what he said, and I said, we could do this, Nick, could we? Yeah. So we got into the top 50, was it then? Or top 60, I can't remember.
50, I believe. Yeah.
And it was just like, oh my God, we've got in the top 50, Nick. And then the top 20 started to loom upon us. And then it was a bit like belief. And then obviously that's when the Mystery Shoppers came out. And then to get to top 20 to top 10, there was so much belief that we could do it. Now, my shop was old, never had a refit. The last refit it had when my range went in, when Nick was 1, and when we started the awards was 8 years ago, and Nick's 35 this year. Okay. I used to keep it going.
So your range was 26 years old?
I used to keep it going with a hammer. They'd say, David, we can't get the range working. I'd say, right, that little hammer, get underneath there and tap that red block and it'll be fine.
Yeah. I made a mistake. At the beginning, I should have introduced you as the 2018 winner.
That's fine.
And so it's taken me 11 minutes to realise I made the mistake. I just introduced you like everybody knew who you were. And your shop, of course, is called Miller's, and it's in Haxby. So I apologise for that. So you've got a 26-year-old range. Yeah. You've got a son and a team of people that are on board with making things happen.
They are and they are. I mean, that's when it started, really. So I realised that we had to do a serious thing because we'd got the accounts for last year and we'd lost money and we were going down fast. So we used the awards of a pivotal thing, to sort me out, sort the shop out and sort the staff out. And I held a meeting and I just said to everybody, look guys, Nick's in the business now. This is going to be so different to working with me. As you know, I'm laughing, joking, but I didn't care. That's the problem. I didn't care. It was just this money coming in and I'd dive into it and go out and all that sort of stuff. Nick's with me now and things are going to change dramatically. So what I'm going to say to you all now is I thank you so much for everything you've done for me up to this point, but it is going to change. And some of you will not want to come with me. Some of you might come with me and then finish later on. But whatever you do, I don't have any hard feelings. When it gets tough for you, you need to say straight away, because we are after this and we're going forward with this. And we can't do it unless you are on board with us. Me and Nick can't do it on our own. In fact, we're the last bit that can do it. It's you guys that help us through that winning line, not us, me and Nick. It's nothing to do with us, really. It's about Millers and the people that work there.
Yeah, it's a massive team effort. You can't do it on your own. Do you think that your chefing background, the discipline, not just the technical knowledge that you gained as a chef, but the discipline of being a chef served you well when you crossed over into a fish and chip shop environment? Yeah,
I think it did. But then again, as I say, I always say it's two products, fish and chips, but there's a lot of science behind there. And any good cooking, there's a lot of science. You look at, I'm very lucky to know a few of the Michelin star chefs in and around Yorkshire, around my area. And they are almost scientists, the way they put stuff together and the way they put taste together. So yeah, I suppose, but for me it's the ethos of work, of what I put into it and what I can learn, and perfection, attention to detail, especially when you're cooking at Michelin star level. It's about attention to detail, and that doesn't stop, and consistency.
So you essentially put that attention to detail across your whole operation, focusing first on the food and the service, and then
at the beginning.
And then
I let it go.
First year, So the first year you entered, how did you get on?
We came third. Which was just mind-blowing.
It sounds like a fairy tale, doesn't it?
Well, it was mind-blowing. And it was just like, gosh, what we've done. And that was still an old range.
Yeah.
And then we didn't actually change the range till we started the next campaign, which was the year we won. But I remember looking out, I think we were at was it the Lancaster we were then? Or was it, the Lancaster we were at. And I remember looking out the window, getting back to the hut, because when they shouted out third, I didn't quite hear it, and Nick went, Dad, and I got up and I was a bit shocked, but I did have belief that we could just do that fairy tale thing. I just had so much belief about me and Nick that we just might do it. But
I was there.
Well, yeah, but I remember getting back to the room and packing the bag, and because obviously if you go to the top 10, you always book another night just in case. Yeah. But I remember getting back to the room, and we were going to go out for something to eat and celebrate. In fact, it's the pub just round the corner. It's a great little pub. And I remember looking out the window and just went, God, Les, I'm so glad we didn't win it, because we weren't ready. We are not ready. We'd have made such a mess of it, because it wasn't until when they got to the Blue Ribbon event in those days, which was the fish and chip shop of the year, it didn't really dawn on me the enormity of what was happening and what we'd done and where we were. And I'm so glad we didn't win it. Yeah,
because I know, being a winner now, you know what it's like to actually lift that trophy, and the responsibility that you suddenly feel, the sense of duty and pride you have to give to the award, which you gave in spades. But we'll come to that. Yeah. So you go away with third at the first attempt, which shows to the listener, to to the Ceres audience that, you know what, you don't have to have the best shop in the world. You just have to have the best attitude and the commitment and the passion.
It's passion.
20.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah. No, you go.
It's passion.
This is for you, not
passion,
for me.
passion. And Gordon Hillier was one of our judges, and he could just see that coming out of us. And he just said, this was to get in the top 10, because after the top 10, you're all down to square one again, and you obviously go into your judging room. And he could see how much it meant to us what we were doing, and it just really, whatever happened to me, I don't know what day it was, what time of day it was, but something happened in me that just reignited something in me, in my body, and in my soul, I feel, and I just thought we could do this, and so much belief. And I remember going to Norway, and everybody else was there from fish and chip shops, and the guys kept saying, "Gosh, you know a lot, you know a lot." And then you could see him almost going, not a threat, but a couple of them said, "I think you'll win it." And we'd only just come on the scene, and it was like, and I remember Nick trying to teach me to do Instagram while I was over there. It was so funny. I said, "Forget it, Nick, I'll just send you the photos, you'll just have to do it." And, it's about the passion and knowledge, customer service, and what you give to the industry, because that's what it's about. You are showcasing. These awards are about the very best of this great iconic dish of fish and chips, and then you know that the person that's going to win it is going to hold on to that and look after it and spread the word how good it is. Because I have a great saying when I'm training, or when I have been training, saying that there'll be somebody in my catchment area, and probably for you as well, Mark, don't matter how many awards you've won, but they've had fish and chips somewhere else that maybe didn't reach their expectations, and they've actually gone, "Do you know what? I'm not having fish and chips anymore. Every time I'm having the rubbish."
Yeah.
Yeah.
You, as an industry, we're judged on the last meal that anyone's bought, and if that happens to be bad, you could lose a customer for the whole industry, not just for yourself.
So anybody that's thinking, "Ooh, I've got to have top of the end range or brand new, ultra flooring, marble on my worktops, all this sort of stuff," you don't. It has to be clean, obviously. It has to be cracking fish and chips. Amazing, even more amazing customer service. Because I'm a great believer in, if you've got your customers and they're used to an amazing fish and chips and fantastic customer service, let's say you get it wrong, which you do, and if people say they don't, I don't believe them. Your customer service backs it up, and they'll actually come to the side and go, "David, can I have a word with you, please? We got some fish and chips last week, and they just weren't as good as they normally are. I just wanted to let you know." They won't even take money back or a free meal. They believe in you so much that they'll tell you. So they're my key points. Cracking fish and chips, customer service, a clean shop, a functional clean shop.
Yeah.
Simple.
They're the three things, yeah. So the judging process, were you still in the awards when they had voting forms for customers, or had that been scrapped by the time
that had gone?
You were...
That had gone.
Sorry?
That had gone.
That had gone.
Thank God, because I didn't have any customers anyway.
So you went through 2 rounds of mystery shopping. One of them would have been announced.
Yeah.
They'd have announced themselves straight after purchase or shortly after purchase, and then you would have had a more extensive audit after as well. Is that right?
That's frightening. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
To go through that is, I'm not going to mention the names, but there's a few out there that you dread to walk through the door, and
they're very thorough,
sure
aren't
enough,
they?
we got them, and you've heard about the cameras, the mirrors on sticks and all that, and you think, that can't be right. Come on, this can't be right. And of course, it's like,
it's right.
So it just it makes you realise that there's so much to do behind the scenes to get it up to scratch. And if you are number one, so it should be. It should be like a brand. I mean, I was talking with somebody this morning on a podcast, and they said their shop's 6 years old, and it's still like it was when they had it done, and that's how it should be, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Even if it might look a bit worn, it should be absolutely perfect. So, and it's training your staff. We do a lot with the staff training, and everybody knows everybody's department. And I think that goes back from hotel management from when I started to join, that when you joined Trust House Forties, you had to do every department to understand what goes on, to become a manager. And I think it's the little things like they would stop somebody and go, what does HACCP mean to you? Or what's the temperature you cook at? Everybody should know these facts if they're working in your shop, because somebody might be called away and a server has to go and take the fish out or the sausages. They need to know all these things. And that's, to me, is really screwing the top on and making sure that everybody knows what they're doing.
Yeah, but it gives every member of the team ownership as well of the success, and professional pride in what they're doing as well. So whether you progress, win, lose, or whatever, it really is a great free tool to check on the progress and the benefits across your business. You know, you can see where you need to improve, where you're getting things right.
Yeah, and I promise you, your turning will go over. Your turnover will go up, without a doubt. And so this is a free check. And let's say it's from a business point of view, you will actually take my money, but you start looking at everything in a different way. And that can only be good for you as a person, you for your staff, you for your business, you for your reputation.
Yeah. So you entered the second year and you won the bloody thing. Tell me about the day. Time speeds up when you win something like that. Life just becomes a blur for a while, doesn't it? Yeah. How was all that for you? What? How did you manage the obligations?
Go on.
Bless you. Talk me through it. I mean, just as a family achievement.
It consumes, doesn't it? It consumes. It's what you talk about, and then it's highs, lows, it's up and down, and can you do it? Can you do it? And I remember just saying to my staff, come on, guys, if you only you can get me to London. You get me and Nick to London, and I promise you we'll win it for you. And that was my promise to my staff. And we did it, and the day was just like, I think I tied my tie 5 times because I just couldn't get it right. I just got sat down, I had all my friends and my family with me, my cousin and my brother and my sister-in-law, and then obviously Les and the rest of my family. And I just remember pushing food about all over and just thinking, and just kept looking at the programme going, 2 more to go, And then it came, and of course, third comes out, second comes out, and then Nigel Barden was great at that long pause, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And then it was, they'll be going bonkers in North Yorkshire. And that was it, and it was just...
Boom.
Just crazy. And then it was just like... It was like...
Chaos.
It's like you get off the stage, and they literally grab hold of you, and they walk you through. And it's like...
Into a green room.
Don't talk to anybody. Do not look at anybody. Just follow us. And they literally... There's one person on Nick, one on me, and they're just guiding you through, and out you go. And we didn't get back to the family for a good hour and a half, because you're into the green room doing interviews, talking for press releases, all that. And then it starts to get really overwhelming. Then you realise that, wow, what's happened here? And then they start talking about being on ITV the next morning, what time you've got to be ready. Please don't drink too much tonight because we need you on there. All these sort of things. And then the sort of media circus takes over, if you get what I mean.
The gravity and the impact of what's just happened.
Yeah.
When did your feet touch the floor?
Oh.
A week? 2 weeks?
Yeah, at least. I think getting back to the shop was the big thing for me. So we arrived off the train, taxi, and went straight to the shop, and it was packed out. And I remember just walking in with the trophy and holding it out, and it was just very emotional. And then, as Nick always says, we had to get back to work. I don't think, to be honest with you, I've ever come down from it. I'm so pleased and proud of being able to do that I still hold it very high in my thoughts. I'm so proud to have done it, especially with my son. And I think...
Yeah.
And Leslie, don't forget Leslie was there. Leslie was always been there. And she always gets not mentioned, and she's the backbone. In fact, like a lot of people probably don't know, but Leslie used to work for my dad.
Yeah.
So
that's how you met her.
Yeah, that's how I met her. And so, yeah, I would think a good 2 or 3 weeks before. But then it starts again. You've got your press coming round and there's something for this, there's something for that. Can you come and do this for us? And it's almost never ending. Plus, you've got to keep on top of your shop as well. But you've got to think, how do you maintain this as well? So there's no point going through all that, getting the biggest chance you can in business, and not looking after it, and future-proofing it for going forward. And I always said to people, you'll never have a chance like this to underpin and have an amazing business for the rest of your life.
Don't be too specific, but in terms of percentage, what did it do for your turnover when you won it?
Well, I can say we were doing $9,000 a week to $25,000 a week.
Wow.
Nuts.
I can't even work that. I can't even work that out.
But it's that, and that's what we went from, and we're now something like $20,000, $22,000 a week in, week out.
Yeah,
for a shop that opens
6 years later.
Yeah, and I don't mind sharing that with people.
You're open 30 hours a week, aren't you?
That's all. Yeah. So we shut. COVID changed a lot of things, isn't it? And
I want to talk about that.
Yeah,
but, I've got that on here because your podcast with Stelios finished a week before COVID became a thing. And it's not mentioned at all. So I actually want to finish this talk today.
Should we took that 30 hours when we kick on that? Because I'll explain what happened there. All right.
Yeah. So coming to the end of your reign, you got to do foreign trips. You got to do lots of TV, promotional work.
Yeah.
You really championed fish and chips. Not just being a champion, but actually championed the brand. And I have to say, I think that you did far more for fish and chips in your year than you did for Miller's, and the extra turnover that you got was really just a byproduct of you being a great champion, if you don't mind me saying.
That's very kind.
But when you came to the end of your year, you had a very strict decision on how you were going to handle coming to the end of your reign. But I want you to tell it in your own words, because I know what you did.
So I'm a great believer in, if you've won that award, you're the best at it. So you've got a year to really cement everything together, get it on. But you've also got to prepare for what's coming forward, because at 3 o'clock on the 26th of February, was it a Thursday or Wednesday, you are no longer the champion. So I have a lot of things about this, and it's something that a lot of people have heard me talk about, maybe, or have been with my company, that I'm a great believer in. When it's your time to go, it's your time to go, and you should step away silently. And we did have press calls and whatever, but we refused to do them because it wasn't our turn. Why? Okay, yeah, we maybe had a good year. We did a good year, and we did do a lot of things. But why should I be clouding up the perception of Fish Shop of the Year of the people that won in 2019? So
you felt as though you might be stealing some of their thunder, which shows a real amount of class and dignity to say we've had our time. But now the dust has settled on your reign by quite a few years. You're still working tirelessly in the background for the brand of fish and chips.
We are. I love it, and I will do anything I can to promote fish and chips, to say how good it is. And I won't dwell on what we've gone through over the last financially. It is what it is, but we're not the only people suffering. But you can still, if you do a good product, people will come. I don't care what people say, there is money there, people love food. And if you do it well, they will pay. But I will champion fish and chips as much as I can. Like, we've been to Japan 5 years running now, twice a year. We're going again, I think, in August.
Off the back of winning Fish and Chip Shop of the Year.
But I think that's because we've done a good job. And again, we understand how it works out there, and I think that farthest thing, son, it really works out there, you know. But interestingly, talking about awards, I said to the guys, let's enter some awards this year. And Nick said, yeah, whatever, Dad. And I thought, well, I'm not going to do anything with Fish and Chips, but we did a few family business awards for food, and we picked 2 up again this year. And then we just finished with Best of York Tourism Awards, and we got Best of York finals, and I lost out to a wizard. But anyway, there you go. I can't do much about that, can I? When it's like the hot spot of Harry Potter. So, but you know, so we're testing little things now, and so it gives you a benchmark, doesn't it? And but I'll never stop championing Fish and Chips, and I think for me this year's award, there were so many people that I've met or spoken to or that have been through the training academy at the National Fish Fries Federation. To say that, you know, it's still a great business. It's a great business to be in. It's not easy.
Yeah.
By all means, it's not easy. But if you do it right, it can give you a great life. But then a great life means you have to work out what you're doing in that life. You can't just be a slave to that range. You've got to make
balance.
It work for you. Because if you put hard work in, you should be able to get a bit of hard play out of it as well.
Absolutely. Well, there are 2 things that I wanted to pick up on that came out of you winning the award, because I think every champion brings something new to the title, and I think when I look at it, your most recent work, but going all the way back to when you won the award, your photography, your images. The way that you've presented Miller's is so clean. The food looks so amazing. It's so well presented, and the passion comes through. And I know Nick has a lot to do with with Instagram, and your social media presence should be a lesson to everyone, because it is so artistic, so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I wanted to put that really on the listeners' radar to actually go and seek out Miller's Facebook page and Instagram page and look at the photos you shoot, and you can see the energy in your workforce.
Yeah.
The uniforms, it's all so clean, and you do such an amazing job. But the second thing was that you went into knowledge sharing and training off the back of the award. When you came out of that, you started sharing, and this is particularly important for me because I've got 2 anecdotes I want to share, and I know people are tuning in to listen to you, but I want to share these both with you because one you may be aware of, but one you probably won't be.
Okay.
The first one was when you kindly hosted me and I came up to see you.
Yeah.
And Leslie showed off her amazing public toilet that she created for her customers, which was the nicest loo I've ever seen in a chip shop. I think Austin Dack created an award for it, didn't he? Which was well deserved. Yeah. But you and Nick reignited in me the thing that I'd been lacking, the same as you had all those years ago. I went through a motivational meltdown, and it was based really around poor health and I'd really just lost my way, and you and Nick absolutely turned me on a sixpence that day I came to see you. So I need to acknowledge that and thank you for that.
It's really nice
because you are inspirational people to be around, and you transformed my business. I think I was in a place where you were you were at, where I was making money, but I wasn't really loving the job anymore, and I didn't know where to go and what to do with it. And I came away from you thinking I'd just been given a really kind kick up the arse, and I really needed it. Yeah. So that's the first thing. But the second thing was something that happened more recently, and I'd gone to a new shop opening of a guy that I've been training. he won't mind me telling you. Carlo Moretto
Yeah.
opened a new shop in Hitchin, and I went to the opening, and Stelios was there, and I'd already done some training with Carlo. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
This was his third shop, so he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
And he asked me to do some fish cutting with him because he knew what he was doing, but he just wanted somebody to just reaffirm it. And I started to explain. I mean, I've been teaching people how to cut fish since 2009 professionally at a different frying school to the one you trained at, but still we teach best practice at both.
Of course we do.
And I was explaining to Carlo that a whole fish will yield 2 fillets, a left-handed fillet and a right-handed fillet, and that you cut them differently. You make the same cut with a knife, but the fillets mirror each other. And Carlo said to me, "Well, David Miller told me that if it's the wrong side for you, just turn it over and cut it upside down, and you treat it the same as you would a normal fillet." And and there was this light bulb moment. I thought, I'm going to swear now. And Stellos told me not to. I thought, fuck me. So I'm being taught by David Miller how to teach people how to cut fish. And I've been teaching people how to cut fish for 10 years. But it was a light bulb moment. And I've changed my fish cutting teaching from that day onward. And Carlo must have looked at me as if to say, "What, you get paid for this, you muppet?"
Don't you know that?
and I've had several opportunities to tell you that story, but I wanted to wait until we were being recorded.
That's very humbling, Matt, because you're respected so much in the industry. And,
you can still teach an old dog new tricks, and I've never turned a fillet over before that time and cut it as if it was an easy fillet to cut. I always to articulate the fish round, and you know what I'm talking about.
You pick it up, turn it down, look at it. Always, if you're right-handed, that line is always in your left hand.
Yes, and I'd never done that before. I'd always cut fish 2 different ways, depending on if it's a left or a right. But now I cut them all the same way.
Oh, brilliant.
And so everybody since then that has learned to cut fish, they've benefited from your wisdom. And anybody that I taught to cut fish before that, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry that that you had me and not David Miller teaching you how to cut fish. So you're up there in my estimations. You're up there. You are a training god. But I understand you trained and gave knowledge back after you won this award for a really long time, and time moves on. Eventually you get to a point where it's time to hang up the apron, and you've recently just
yesterday.
You've just finished that, haven't you? Just yesterday you finished.
Yes, I finished at 5 o'clock yesterday. Quite emotional, really, but it's time for me.
You've given so much. Nobody can argue with that.
But listen to this. The one thing I do believe in is change is a good thing. So I could have gone on another 2 years, no problem. I could have trained people. But I'm a great believer in there's what you've got to think about in fish and chips is the young people, haven't you?
Yeah.
So what and this is, think about this, whoever's listening, it's about your customers as well. How do you get those under 30s in your shop?
Yeah.
They're our future. Or your son and daughters, whoever's taken the business over, their future. Or even the future if you sell a shop. If you've got a database that is under 30, that's a great thing, because that's a business that can keep going forward. We don't have to work for the older people. They are weaned on fish and chips, but the younger people of today, let's say there's so much more influences coming on, and that fish and chips is probably third on that list, whereas somebody who's 60, 70, 50, it might be first or second on the list. Do you see what I mean? So it's dropping down the scales.
It was a real problem when the burger generation came along, when we were invaded by the Americans in the high street with McDonald's and Burger King and KFC, and all of that happened in the sort of 80s, 90s, there was a real threat, wasn't there?
Yeah.
But fish and chips has had a renaissance, a resurgence, if you
does.
like.
And
I think social media, your presence on social media is testament to that, because your stuff does appeal. You've made fish and chips sexy. Well, your boy has.
My boy has, not me. And I'll give him everything of that, because a lot of people think we have a massive team round us, and we don't. We have Nick, and he's just meticulous. I'll go back to the question what you've asked me about. I remember going to him, have you done anything on Facebook this week? Have you done anything? He said, Dad, just understand, if you've nothing to say, don't post anything, because it's boring. You only post it when it means something, because people are very fickle, and if you bombard them with rubbish, you'll be swiped off. Whereas if you've got interesting stories, they'll want to go, I wonder what they're doing this week. But going back to the training, 7 years now. I'm ready, myself personally, because I'm 62, and you need to start thinking about what's your exit plan. Now, I'm not going to go away from fish and chips. I'm going to be around for a long time. But I don't want to be in the capacity I am, because that's demanding, and I want to enjoy my fit years. And I've lost quite a few friends this year that are 68, 69 to the dreaded sea, and that's been quite very sobering for me. But also, on the backflip of that, I'm a great believer in progression. Now, there's some great young shop owners out there that could be part of the training teams, and they might have different ideas and different way of doing things. And you'll hear me always say about best practice. As long as best practice runs through everything, you're always going to be there or thereabouts. But you can always put a bit of flavour on the top of it. And this is what I'm talking about. So my flavour has been that flavour for 7 years. It's not wrong, it's not right, but I'm a great believer in another person coming in with a different flavour to put on top. And that's what's called progression. Yeah. And without that, you become stagnant. Doesn't matter how good you are, you become stagnant. And I didn't want to overstay my welcome, and I didn't want to be... I wanted to go out at the top, and this year was a really good year for me, with so many people, either newcomers or passing through the training academy, or getting, coming for a one day event, or doing a couple of Zoom courses just to ignite, or whatever they've got from that. And I thought, what a great year. But also, going back to my family, this is a really important year for Millers. This is a really important for Nick, because he's almost ready to push me out the door, I think. He's not far off. And I want to be there for him for this year to nail it, and then I can just go, right, see ya.
You're on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I need to be there for that. He doesn't need me, but I want to be there for him, because I think, we've branched off into other bits and pieces. That you maybe will touch on a bit later, but that's going back to the under 30 things.
Yeah. So, looking at the competition, have you had an opportunity yet to be a judge in the competition?
Yes, I have.
And how did you find it being on the other side of the fence? It's a lot more relaxed, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or do you feel the pressures there to judge it fairly?
I did the judging for when Kelly and Tim from Crispies won, so I was on the table then, and again people.
I judged Tim and Kelly that year.
People were going, well, he's only just won it. How come? Why is he? I don't know. I was asked, so that was great. So that was amazing. But this other judging I've done has been on Zoom, and I think a lot of people go, oh, does that work? Yes, it does. And I was very lucky. I've been sort of helping Kerry Foods, Alan Pearce from Kerry Foods, doing the mobile judging. I've done a little bit on the Fish Shop of the Year, sort of the takeaway, getting from top 50 down to top 20. But then they asked me if I wanted to do the mobile, and I've really, really enjoyed that, because that is so different to what I normally do. So that's really tested me to go, why is this better? So I've had to actually go to myself, take my fish shop brain off, my shop brain, and what is it that makes a really good mobile? And that's been fantastic. So I've worked with Alan, and this year I worked with Adrian Fusco and myself, and it was really, really good. I've really enjoyed it, and I hope that I'm asked again to be a judge. I think it's somewhat, as a past winner, that your wisdom and the way you look at things has to help the awards.
Because there is a tick box criteria that you have to assess and mark on, but there's also like an intuition that you get a feeling for who the kidders are and there is an element of that plays into it as well. You can go to a shop and see who's really trying and who's really just trying to cover stuff up.
I know. Well, I think you'll know yourself, Matt. I go into a shop and I'll see stuff that I haven't even seen for months. I'm looking, but I'm not interested in what the shiny table looks like. I've seen loads of them. I'm looking at other stuff.
So, do you think that the process gets harder year on year on year?
Well,
the shop.
Yeah, it should do. Yeah, every year I think the awards learn, and obviously NFFF awards are in their infancy. So they've already started having. When it finished, they had a meeting straight off. They're having weekly meetings. How can you make this awards more robust and whatever? And what I say to people is, don't give feedback. Just because they've not asked for it, you could give feedback and say, "This is what I thought about these. This is what didn't work for me," and it will get better. And I think the calibre goes up as well. And the calibre's really, consider it's been on the shelf for 2 years, 2.5 years, to come out like it has done with the calibre. I think it's brilliant. I think it's amazing. Yeah. So it's still there. And as I've said before, and no disrespect to any, there's some big guns in there that was in the awards in sea fish that are just like hanging about. What are they waiting for? I don't know. But do you know what I mean? There's a few names there.
Waiting to see. Yeah,
maybe. Yeah, and maybe. As
the years the years roll on, there's going to be some more big names appearing.
So I think that it does get more robust, and I think it's just fantastic. I mean, it was gone. Seafish didn't want it. I remember being on a meeting with Seafish, and their money was tightening up because of the quotas and whatever, and they didn't feel the need that they could support fish and chips anymore financially, so they had to cut it loose. And it was
Nicky Hawkins.
Sorry?
Nicky Hawkins has tentatively agreed to do a pod with me.
That'd be good.
And it's just, she's a very, very busy lady.
Yeah.
But we're just looking at scheduling at the moment. So I'm hoping to get Nicky on because she's changed so many people's lives.
Oh,
and she has this amazing career in hospitality before she worked at Seafish, doing banqueting and stuff like that. So she's got I'm sure she's got some great stories to tell. So I'm hoping to get Nicky on it.
So I think for it to be floundered like it was and to be picked up again and to get it off the ground like they have done, I think that's a great achievement. And I think it still means what it means. You are number one in the UK.
Yeah, it's an important thing for the industry, isn't it?
Yeah. You're still number one. Restaurant of the year, fish and chip shop of the year, field to fryer. I always love the young fish fry of the year. That's the one I love. I always thought that was a great. They are our future superstars. And it's like Jamie this year won best newcomer and young fish fry of the year. I mean, I don't think that's ever been done.
Yeah, I made final for young fish fry of the year and didn't win it, but then my manager did a few years after me, which was nice. But I remember why I didn't win it, and Auntie Briar never forgave me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We won't go into that on air. We'll talk about it afterwards. But she said to me, "You had it in the bag and then you blew it."
Did you swear?
No, I didn't. I didn't swear. I was asked a loaded question and I answered it too honestly. Yeah. I said to her that at some point that a generation of kids are going to think that a frozen chip is a proper chip, and dry white don't want to hear that.
Of course they don't.
They don't want to hear that. They didn't want to hear that back in 1992 or whatever it was, because that was too ahead of its time. And she said to me, "You were doing just so well," and then you flushed it. So when my manager made it to the final, I said, whatever you do, the only chip that ever works in a chip shop is a dry whited chip.
Yeah,
Don't you forget it.
Absolutely, don't forget it.
But that, we digress. So let's talk about COVID, because you've got this, you've ridden this wave. You've got this great business, and then COVID came along, and it affected a lot of people. But I watched you go through COVID on Instagram and on social media, and I think you absolutely got it spot on. So tell us what you did.
Where do we start? Well, obviously, I was training that day, and I was coughing like hell, and I thought, oh God, if I've got this is going to be awful. And I was training, it was a Monday day, and we shut the course down on the Tuesday morning, decided to do it. And then, as we know, the announcement was that week, and we just shut the shop like we were told to do. And I was getting phone calls off everybody. Obviously, Good Friday was on its way, wasn't it? I was getting phone calls from everybody. Are you going to open, whatever? Then the legislation came out about that you could open. And we sat down as a family and some of the team, and we said what we're going to do for our community here in Haxby. And the consensus was we should not open, because we are inviting people to come and congregate in a fish and chip shop or outside, whatever, and it will be perceived, or I felt it would, that we're just after money, and we're not. We need those customers for later on, and I want to protect as many people as we can. So we decided to shut, and I had a great 6 weeks at home. I had a suntan. I was, out in the garden every day, really enjoyed it. Everybody was so relaxed at work for us. They knew they were getting looked after, they were paid. We looked after them that way. The other thing I used to get upset about is, you got all the kickback loans and the money back. That was to pass down to your suppliers to keep them going. And as we know, a lot of people just abuse that and got a new car or whatever. So we did everything correct. And I could sit back and go, and I just knew that we'd be okay. And then, as you know, we started to be able to open, so we put a click and collect in place. And then, as you know, the days of the click and collect, people were there, different types, and we got involved with that. We started to do click and collect in the car park. Leslie was out there with a mask on, and that was the next stage. We still didn't have any walk-ups. And then we started to do deliveries. Now, we just started to do deliveries before COVID. But we do it very, very different to a lot of people. And those that come to the shop can't believe it. Believe it or not, I have 47 that work at the shop now. 15 to 20 of them are made up of our riders. So our village is like a T, and it's a mile one way, and then a mile down to the bottom of the T. So it's like a T, a big T. And we're right in the centre, and literally we do all our own delivery. And we have a fleet of 15, 20 riders on a Friday night, whizzing around the village, all livered up, all with Miller's bags on, all blowing Millers all over the place. And we can actually get that to our customers on a Friday night in about 20 minutes. So that's quicker than them getting in the car, finding a place, queuing up, waiting to cook fresh to us. So it's changed our business dramatically. Now, I was one of those old school traditionalists that said to me, and I know you've always been an advocate of Matt, delivery and all this sort of thing, but if you'd have said to me, 2020, January, can fish and chips do delivery? Oh, no, we're not ready for it yet. No. And look at us now, 8% of our business is delivery and click and collect. And it's so fresh, we don't double bag. Your order is your order, and the guys come through. The guys love it when it's raining. I'm sure they take water with it and put it on top of their head and have it dripping off them, and they get a tip, you see, because they feel sorry for them. But it also teaches them manners and work ethic, and that's when we get people leaving us, they all say, you've taught me how to conduct myself and everything like that.
Social skills.
Yeah. And so The other thing as well I will say it's changed is our attitude to people that work for us. It's a hard job, isn't it? It's boring, whatever. Everyone's got family. Now, it's okay because me and Nick own it, and I can go, I'm not working this week, see you guys, and then be off somewhere in town having a drink or something to eat and, going on holiday, but my staff are still working hard at home for me. Yeah. So, by the nature of COVID, we actually fell into the work-life balance without us knowing it. And I think in hospitality today, and those that may be struggling for staff, I know you've got to have the turnover and all that, but I want you to think about this, is how do you entrap people into a hard business? Because, as we've always said, I've missed birthday parties, you've missed birthday parties, Mark, weddings, all these sort of things, but how can you look after your staff? Now, if you can provide a job that's got a really good work-life balance, it works. And what we've done in our shop is, as you say, we only work 30 hours. We open Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, 4 till 9. And then the only lunches we do is a Friday and a Saturday. And I still take that sort of money.
It's great.
People go, wow, yeah, it's intense. We're on it, and it's a great atmosphere. So it's like a mini Friday on a Tuesday, because we've shortened the hours. But the profit
you've trained your customers, haven't you?
Yeah. So somebody said to me, "Aren't you bothered, David, about them going somewhere else?" Now I'm going to wind it back now. When we sat down and talked about what we're going to open when we could open again, and I said, and they said, well, we're going to open Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then might do a Friday, Saturday lunch. And I went, well, what, are you going to shut on a Tuesday lunchtime? And I was like horrified. And then they said, well, let's work the figures out, Dad. Come on, let's work it out. What does it cost to run it on a Tuesday? And what do we take? And once we'd done it, I went, well, that's not worth it, is it? There you go. So this is how we looked at it. So then, as you say, we trained our customers, and people have said to us, well, aren't you worried? And I'll go, no, because what it does, if you really think about it, you know you've got to be so good on those days you're open, because if you're not good, they will go somewhere else. But the other flip side is that if you do it as well as your profession do, if they go somewhere else, they will go, do you know what? I'm going to wait for others to open.
Yeah.
And that's a better advert than any advert you can put out. Because people
I'm only open 26 hours a week.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I don't do your numbers, but yeah, my model suits me.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So let's go back to the guys that make it possible for me. They get a Sunday, Monday off. What a day to have off Sunday with your family.
Yeah.
Monday off. They get Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday mornings off. So they can do things like cut the lawn, go to the shops with the wife, do a bit of decorating or whatever they want to do, or go do a sport or go to the gym or whatever it is that makes them feel good. And then they come to work and they're still doing 40 hours a week, my main guys, but they come to work refreshed, ready for it and organised.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot to be said for that.
There is, but it's a hard thing to do. There'll be some people listening out going, are you joking? I can't afford to do that. I understand that. I totally understand. I'm just telling you my story of what's worked for me.
Yeah. So sometimes it's not can I afford to, it's can I afford not to.
Yeah, I know.
As well.
I know.
So, so who along the way deserves a mention? Now's your opportunity to say a few thank yous and to recognise a few people that maybe you didn't get a chance to do when you were talking with Stel, or maybe it's not a person, maybe it's a thing. Anything that you want to acknowledge, because when me and you are long gone, this is always going to be there for somebody to listen to and refer back to.
Well, it's not. It's not going to be like a Radio 2 and everybody that knows me. I just think that for me, I think it's the people that have trusted me and let me work with them, and those I will never forget. And for somebody to say you've changed my life, you've helped me on a different path, and those people that are listening will know that, and that
Yeah.
means everything to me. Without my son, I wouldn't be sat here with you. And you know, it's so much to me as Nick. And obviously Leslie
special lad.
us. Yeah, it makes me very emotional. And you know, obviously, I'd like to give a big thank out to Helen, the federation that looks after me in the training department. She's kept me in the straight and narrow and really looked after me. And just all the people I met on the way, and the people that have believed in what me and Nick do, and have always said, even after all these years, can you come and talk at this? Can you come and do that? And I think my team. Without my team, I couldn't do it. And then, there's lots of other people that have helped me. But I think on a generalised thing, it's anyone that I've touched this last 7 years, they've made a difference to me being a person as well.
Well, I'm included in that group. Definitely. Every time our paths cross, I always come away feeling richer. And I guess I know that there are still many more chapters left for you to write. But this Past Masters series, I am trying to get everybody to really to sum up their story so far and to get to where they are right now. And it would be wrong of me not to give people an opportunity to say those things. And I don't know. Is there anything else you want to say? Because I feel as though I've already got everything that I wanted from this podcast, and I know you've given Stelios a lot of your time today already. So, if there's anything you want to add, I'm really open to it. If not, I'm good.
For those guys that are in fish and chips, remember it's great. It's a great dish. I know I've talked about the younger people, but it is loved, and cherish it and look after it, because it will give you a great life. It's given me a great life. It's a cracking dish, you know. It's a difficult dish to get right, but once you nail it, it is the best thing you can have, and people really do love it. And just look after it, and it will look after you, I promise you.
Yeah, well, on that note, I just want to say that to me, Miller's is one of the greats. I enjoy seeing what you're doing. I enjoy your company every time I get to see you, and I look forward to coming back and seeing you again. David, thanks very much for your time. I'm going to wind up here.
Thank you, Matt. It's been a pleasure. It really has. It's a bit of memory lane. You nearly got me crying just in that last bit. But just fabulous. It's fabulous to share my journey. It's just one of the journeys of people at Win Fish and Chip Shop here. There's many to come. And,
I think you'll enjoy listening to the other ones as well.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time today.
Pleasure.
Cheers.